Are you looking for business automation solutions that are cloud-based, low-cost, flexible, and leverage what you already own? Enter Dynamic Point. Our portfolio of apps are developed on the Microsoft Office 365 framework. In our portal app, you can create a customer, vendor, or employee portal using a corporate-branded SharePoint site with business automation workflows. Using our easy AP365 invoice automation app, receive and process AP invoices from vendors with automatic account assignment and Microsoft Teams managerial review. With the easy EXP365 app, process employee expenses with mobile receipt capture and corporate credit card data feeds, all with seamless integration to your ERP and all within Office 365. Stop being persuaded into applications and start using apps. More robust and familiar functionality at a fraction of the cost of competitive solutions.
Please welcome our next speakers. Steve Endow, a Microsoft MVP, owner and practice director, and Shannon Mullins, a Microsoft MVP and practice director. Today, they will be presenting fantastic integrations between Business Central and Office 365. Please stick around after their session for a live Q&A.
Welcome, everyone, to DynamicsCon. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to the Dynamics user group for hosting DynamicsCon and putting on such a great event for us. Today, I and my colleague Shannon Mullins are going to share with you some fantastic integrations between Business Central and Office 365. So, without further ado, Shannon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, Steve. Very excited to be here. Very, very honored to have been chosen and invited by DynamicsCon to present at this conference, and very, very excited to be part of this Dynamics user group and all the people that are joining us live. I'm Shannon Mullins. I'm the Microsoft Practice Director at Morgan Franklin Consulting. I'm based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and just very, very excited to present with my good friend Steve Endow today.
Excellent. Well, glad to be here with you. And my name is Steve Endow. I am also a Microsoft MVP who is on the journey to learn Business Central. And it's great to be here with Shannon to present this topic about Office 365 integrations. And Shannon, do you know what day it is?
DynamicsCon conference?
Yeah, well, it's also, today is March 17th. And do you know what the earth-shattering significance of that day is?
St. Patrick's Day?
That is exactly it. But more importantly than St. Patrick's Day, today is my birthday, March 17th.
Wow.
It is a fantastic day.
That is fantastic.
I think we should celebrate. What do you think?
I think we should celebrate. Well, okay, it just happens that I happen to have my St. Patrick's Day shot glass, my St. Patrick's Day necklaces, and my St. Patrick's Day. Oh, those are fabulous glasses. Oh my goodness. And my light up shamrocks. Woohoo!
Very good. So
we're here to celebrate your birthday and DynamicsCon.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Steve.
Yes, and I think I'm gonna have to take these off. They're fantastic looking. I look fabulous, but I cannot see a thing. So
that is a fantabulous idea.
Without these, but happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone, and happy birthday to me. And without further ado here, let's jump into our awesome presentation, and I hope you all enjoy it. So today, Shannon and I are going to be speaking about the Office and Power Platform integrations with Business Central. And if you haven't heard of these, you really need to know about these because they add a tremendous amount of value to Business Central ERP application. We're going to cover Excel, Outlook, Word, Teams, SharePoint, and the Power Platform. So buckle up and let's get started. So the first most common example of the Office integration with Business Central is open in Excel. And if you've been using Business Central for any amount of time, you should have seen this feature. It is a fantastic feature that allows you on nearly all pages to click a button to open in Excel and have the data on that Business Central page downloaded for viewing or working with the data in Excel. So it's a really nice feature. One-click download, and it just natively opens the Excel file in your typical Excel application. Also, if you're using Office 365 via web browser, it can open those files directly in the web browser in Office 365 for the web. So really neat feature that I will demo in a minute. Next up, taking that Excel integration up one more notch is Edit in Excel. And in several pages within Business Central, you will see the Edit in Excel button that not only downloads the data into Excel, but lets you edit and modify the data in Excel, save it, and then publish it back to Business Central. So if you're looking to update a handful of records or dozens of records, or say all of your customer records, you can do that using the Edit in Excel feature. Now, obviously, you want to be careful with this and restrict permissions for the users or the situations where you want this to occur, but it's a very, very powerful feature that allows you to harness the usability and the mass data updates of Excel while working with your Business Central data. A few notes about these two features before I show you how it works. The first is Open in Excel does respect many of the filters on a page. So if you have a list page in Business Central and you have chosen to filter down that result set, when you open that filtered result in Excel, it will respect those page filters, which is a really nice feature that allows you to use the Business Central page filters without having to refilter them in Excel. Now, obviously, Open in Excel will not reflect changes made in Excel and push those back up to BC. So you have a static copy of data in Excel. Using the Open in Excel feature, you can modify that data, transform it, pivot it, and send it off to colleagues for review. And that will not change the data or mess up your data in Business Central. So that's actually a good feature for many cases where you want to work with the data in Excel. Edit in Excel is not available on all pages. It is available on many pages, and we're talking about the SaaS version of Business Central here. And so you may find a few pages where Edit in Excel is not available, but it is actually available on a surprising number of pages. It respects most page filters is the language that is used to describe this feature in the documentation. So you may find a page or two where you apply a page filter, but when you use Edit in Excel, the filter is not applied in the data that you download. So don't be surprised if that does occur. And of course, as I mentioned, it allows you to publish changes back to Business Central after you've changed the data in Excel. And also, interestingly, when you're looking at your Edit in Excel data in the Excel workbook, you can actually change companies. So in the Data Management tab of Excel, you can change companies to a different company if you want. So this is live Business Central data directly in Excel. And another caveat is that this feature is Windows only. So if you happen to be using a browser on a Mac and you're accessing Business Central data, then the Edit Excel feature will not be available to you on the Mac OS platform. And with that, let's take a quick look at the Business Central demo of Excel. So here I have your typical Business Central application in a browser, and I'm going to just start simple. I can go into Sales, click on Customers. I see a list of my customers, and very nice here. I can click on the page dropdown, open in Excel, and just that quickly, it prompts me to save the Excel file. I can click right in my browser at the downloaded file. I'm going to enable editing here. Of course, that doesn't change the Business Central, it just allows me to work with it in Excel. And here you see a nicely formatted list of customers. So that easy, I was able to extract the customer list. And maybe you want more columns, maybe you want different fields. If that view or page in Business Central supports the Open in Excel feature, there you go. So that was really easy. Well, what if I want to modify some customers? I can then click on the Edit in Excel button. right below Open in Excel. And you'll notice that this file looks a little bit different. The download process is the same, but when I click on this file, I'll click on Enable Editing in Excel, and you'll notice this pane appears to the right side of Excel. Well, that is Microsoft Excel using a live data connection to Business Central to connect to your Business Central tenant. It might even ask you for authentication. Once it connects, it will download the data that you requested. So here, I can see that the School of Fine Arts is listed, and maybe I want to scroll over and I want to update the address. So maybe this is on Suite 123 in Miami. So I'm going to make that change. I'm going to save that in Excel. And then in the bottom right here, I have a Publish button. I'm going to click that. And right now, Excel is publishing that change back to Business Central. Really amazing technology for if you've come from an ERP system that doesn't have this level of Excel integration. So now that I've made that change to School of Fine Art, I'm going to close this. I'm going to click on my School of Fine Art customer in Business Central, and you'll notice Suite 123 is reflected in the customer's address. So that was a real-time live change that got published to Business Central. So those are two very powerful Excel integrations that are native, out of the box, ready to go with Business Central SaaS. So here I am back in my Business Central SaaS sandbox, and I'm going to go to the home page and use the search feature, the Tell Me feature, and I'm going to type just configuration packages, start to type that. And here you see my configuration packages. And I prepared a few packages already. Now, I can click on customers, and these are very easy to set up. And here I have a customer's configuration package. And one neat thing about this is after defining which Business Central tables I want, in this case, I'm working with table 18, which happens to be the customer table, I can define which fields I want to work with. So even though the customer table has 106 fields, I know I don't need all of those fields. So I can click on the field number here and I can choose which fields I want to work with. So I can click on Edit List. Here I can see that these are the fields that I've selected for my configuration package. And so I can make changes. Maybe I don't need document sending profile, so I can uncheck that. And maybe I don't need our account code or territory code. So now that I've unchecked these, those changes are saved. I can back out of this, and now I can have a new configuration package that has fewer fields that I have to deal with. Next up, I can also do the same with vendors. So you can have multiple configuration packages, multiple objects, multiple tables involved here. So now that I've defined my configuration packages, I can click on the package menu and I can export to Excel. So this is the export functionality. I'm going to export this package. It asks me where I want to save it. I'm just going to call this one vendors and save that. And when I click on this Excel file, very similar to Edit in Excel, I have all of the data that I defined in that configuration package. In this case, I have vendors, and I can actually make changes to this vendor data. I could say that this is First Up Consultants, Inc., and make a change to that vendor. Once I save that, I can close this file, and now I can go to this package and I can choose Import from Excel. I can then choose my vendors file where I've populated 100 rows of my vendor data that I want to import. I can choose Open, and there we go. So it allows me to preview that data. The data can be validated and then it can be imported. So this is a really powerful feature that allows you to do, say, an initial data load of your customers, your vendors, your items, your pricing, for instance, and get Business Central set up. Or maybe you have an ongoing integration that you want to import data once a month. This would be a great option for this. And what is unique about this, from my experience, is this is an out-of-the-box feature of Business Central. You don't have to have a third-party product to perform this type of basic import. Very powerful, very neat feature available right out of the box from Business Central SaaS. Now, one note that I'll share about configuration packages, because it does involve identifying specific tables and potentially multiple tables for a given relationship, say for invoice transactions, header and line items. You will want to work with someone who is familiar with the data model of Business Central and who is comfortable helping you get those configuration packages set up properly. Now, there are features that help validate all your data, but it does make things easier if you're working with an expert who is familiar with this functionality. Next up, we have Power Automate. And Power Automate is part of the Power Platform, and it allows you to create workflow automations, as I'll call them, or orchestrations that allow you to perform a series of steps by retrieving, updating, or sending data between systems. This is a very powerful feature that Microsoft has offered for several years. And one nice thing that this offers is it allows you to integrate with Business Central. So it can connect to Business Central, retrieve your data, push data to different locations, manipulate data, you name it. So it's a very powerful feature that can talk to Business Central via the Business Central APIs. And I believe I read that this will soon allow you to work with custom Business Central APIs at some point. So they're enhancing the connectors on a regular basis to allow you to have better interaction with your Business Central data. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through a full demo of this feature, but when you hear Power Automate, just be aware that that can work with Business Central data and allow you to pull or push data to or from Business Central. So a great feature if you need to connect Business Central with another system or platform that you're working with. Similarly, also on the Power Platform is Power Apps. Power Apps is a low-code, no-code platform that allows citizen developers, as they're called. Maybe you're not a full developer, but you're a power user or you're a user who's familiar with Excel formulas. They allow such users to create full applications with a user interface that work natively in a web browser or on a mobile device. So you can now create a Power App that connects to Business Central using an out-of-the-box connector. It allows you to connect to your Business Central companies, see the data, and arrange that data in a nice, simple user interface that allows you to view, work with, and even submit data back to Business Central. So if you need to extend your Business Central environment a little bit, maybe it's a custom window, maybe you need to have remote users have a simplified view of certain records in Business Central, Power Apps is an option that you can consider. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Shannon to show you some additional integrations between Office and Business Central.
We could talk about Power Automate all day long, but super, super excited to be presenting on some of my favorite features of Business Central with the Office 365 platform. So the first one I'm going to start off with is Outlook. Been with a lot of clients that don't really know that Outlook has a lot of capabilities with Business Central because they did not download or have not configured and downloaded their adapter for Contact Insights. And so they're not really sure how Business Central works with Outlook, or they've never used those features and functionalities before, but there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. So you can actually go in, you can create new contacts, you can create new sales documents. So you can create opportunities, you can create quotes, orders, invoices. Maybe you have salespeople who need to see a customer balance quickly. And so I'm gonna dive in and show you all this, but I'm gonna show you a couple slides here first on what you can do, and then we'll kind of deep dive into the demo. So the first is Contact Insights. And Contact Insights can be turned on in Outlook. Of course, you have to have the add-in actually installed within your Office 365, Microsoft 365 admin portal. You actually have to enable the app within Outlook. But once you've enabled that, your users who have Business Central will be able to come in here and log into Business Central, log in, see their contact information, see their sales, see their purchasing. It's going to be awesome and very insightful for them. So we'll walk through that. So the first is contact insights. That's just viewing your contacts, creating your contact, and having some interaction with that data. And then the second is going to be creating new documents. And I'll demo this in just a second. But one thing that you can do, it depends on if your contact, it's very CRM-like, Steve, where you're going in and you're saying, okay, I have customers and I have vendors. So if it's a customer, I can create sales documents. If it's a vendor, I can create purchase documents. And I can have a contact that's both a customer and a vendor, which is pretty cool. And you can have multiple contacts associated to a company. And then once you associate to a company, or in CRM world, what we call an account, the cool thing is D365 for sales actually has a full integration with Business Central. So all your CRM data automatically can flow into BC. And then from there, you could go into Outlook and you can start selling to your customers via Outlook, which is a really nice feature and functionality. You also have the ability to view documents, which is insane. It's funny because I have BC turned on that way. And so I actually will get emails from clients who are like referencing an order number with a support case. And they come in and they say, oh, wow, this support case has, order number, blah, blah, blah. Well, it would automatically highlight thinking that it's a BC order number. And so I would be able to highlight that and actually drill into that. So you can actually view documents, you can open documents, you can create them. It's got some really, really cool features that you can do with that. And then also, you can also create sales opportunities. So maybe you have people who can't create orders, can't create quotes, can't do any of that, but you want them to come in and create opportunities. And then to be able to sync those opportunities back with Business Central, you also can create the two-way sync with Dynamics 365 for sales, the CRM piece. So you could have things coming into BC, going from BC back into D365 for sales, and you have this full interaction between the full stack. And then if on top of that, if you have project operations or field service or customer engagement, you'll see all that data real live from Outlook, which is pretty cool. What I want to do is I want to go in and show you. Now, there's two ways to access it. I always call Outlook old school and new school. So old school is going to be your desktop Outlook, and a lot of folks use that. I actually became new school, I'd say about a year ago, and I really started using Outlook up in the cloud, and so I use it a lot there. You can use it either way. I find that the functionality works a little bit better with the Outlook desktop, so I'm actually going to show you guys that. But what happens is once you have the BC adapter turned on for your environment and you're seeing the application, when you go into an email, you're actually going to see this little symbol, the little BC symbol. And if you have BC Cloud, you know what that looks like. And so that actually triggers what it calls contact insights. And that contact insights is where we're going to be able to do some of these things in Outlook. So what I did here, just for demo purposes, is I took an email that I know is not confidential, Nashville Business Journal, read that a lot. And so I took the Nashville Business Journal, and let's pretend like I want to sell Nashville Business Journal. I'm like, maybe I want to contact them as an opportunity. And so what I can do is I can actually click on Contact Insights, and then I can come in here and I can click on Add Nashville Business Journal as a contact. Now, there's two different things. They are either an existing contact and I want to add them to an existing contact, or they don't exist and now I'm going to add them as a contact. I'm not adding them as a customer at this point, but I'm going to add them as a contact. So they are now a person that I can contact for purchasing or for sales. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And when I click on it, it's going to ask me what type of contact this is going to be. Is it a person or is it a company? You know, sometimes companies have emails. So you might just want to create this as a company, but maybe you have people and then you want to associate them to a company. So you have both ways here. It's pretty cool. And then in here, you can actually come in and you can say, what company are they associated to? All right. And if you don't have the company in here, let me make my screen a little bit bigger here. But if you don't have the company, then you can come in and say, okay, well, the company doesn't exist. I'm going to create a new one. Now, again, a lot of people ask me a lot. And Steve, I'm sure you get it as well. Can I do all this? Like, can anyone do this? Or do they need security rights? Well, of course they need security rights, right? So if your users cannot naturally come in and create companies, then they will not be able to do this in the Outlook, section. So they will have to have, that kind of information. But I can come in here and I can fill out what I know about the customer. I can click on show more, show less, and then I can hit close. And so I've created the company, Steve Endow. I can come in here. If you've ever been in BC and set up customers, it's a very familiar window where you have show more and show less. I can set up things like email. I can set up things phone number, homepage. Now the email it's going to take for the contact is going to be Nashville Business Journal. But in this case, if it was Steve, you could do it for Steve. And so you're going to fill out your whole application here. And then when you're done, you're going to hit OK. And very similar to what Steve was doing with the Outlook add-in and with the configuration templates, we're actually creating data directly from Outlook. Fascinating. I still am mind blown and baffled by this, okay? And so you'll notice in here, once I create that contact and that customer, I'm now viewing data coming out of BC, which is pretty cool. So now I'm seeing contact statistics, I'm seeing opportunities. So this is a new opportunity for me. And right from here, I can go in and say, okay, I really want to contact the Nashville Business Journal. Let's go ahead and create an opportunity. And so I can come in here and create that opportunity with Nashville Business Journal. And I can call it whatever I want to do, call it lead up. And I can assign it to a salesperson if I want to, a sales cycle. And you can set different sales cycles. Actually, the really nice thing about BC, a lot of people don't know, it has a really, I think for a really light CRM, it's pretty robust. And you can take these opportunities and turn them into quotes. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. And from here, you can go and you can activate your stages. You can create an interaction. You can show sales quotes. So if you want to create a quote, you can create a quote and show that. And then you can show the statistics and the log entries and things like that. That's all BC functionality. I'm not using D365 with this. So that's pretty fascinating. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this opportunity. And now that's a new opportunity for the customer. Other things that I can do down here, I can create links back to maybe documentation, and I can also create notes. Now, the nice thing is whatever I do in BC for links and notes with the desktop app, I will actually be able to see those directly here inside of Outlook, which is pretty cool. So let's say they like me, they want to make me a customer, or I want to make them a customer. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, this is now a customer. And I can use my customer contact conversion templates to go ahead and create a customer. And now just like that, I've taken Nashville Business Journal and created the customer Steve Endow, which is pretty cool. So it was a contact, part of the company Steve Endow. The contact likes me. The contact now becomes an account. And now I have a customer inside BC. Pretty cool. So now if I want to, I can actually go in to my BC, and I'm actually going to go into my customers, and I should be seeing that customer here in BC now, which is the cool part. So many cool things that you can do with BC, but this is like one of my favorites because we're actually creating data from Outlook, which I never thought would be imaginably possible, and it is. So it's just kind of the realm of possibility within Outlook. And pull up our list, and we should have that new customer in here, Steve Endow. Now, a lot of people ask me, what if I don't trust my salespeople setting up customers? I 100% agree with you. That's not typically a function where a salesperson would come in here and be able to fully vet a customer and set them up. But we could at least capture that data. And then the cool thing about Business Central is every time you're creating new data, there's workflows. So you can turn on those workflows. You can come in and you can say, okay, every time there's a new customer created, use Power Automate to request approval. And that goes through some kind of credit app stage. And then that becomes an official customer where I can sell it. So you can turn on workflow, but at least we're capturing that data that I typed in directly from BC, from Outlook into BC, which is so nice because people are not having to go get an email, come back, set up the customer, go through all these stages. You have all that available. The other thing that I wanted to show you through here is that you also can create new documents. So they've moved that to here on the top. And from here on the new document side, you can create new quotes, invoices, orders, credit memos, or you can also create a reminder for the customer. Maybe you want to create a reminder and send that to them. You can do that. You can also come in and create, a new sales quote. And so you can actually do the full quote process in here. Of course, it's going to flip out on me, but you can come in and create new documents and send that back to BC. It's wanting me to close and undo the Outlook add-in. Let's try that. I might need to refresh the customer here. But you can go in, you can create these new documents. The other nice piece that I like about it is you can actually email out of Outlook. You can email those documents directly out of Outlook. You don't have to go in here, create the document, come back in, go back and forth, and just go back and forth between the two. You can actually come in here and just get it done all at once. And hopefully it's going to behave for me within that. You'll also notice in here as that's loading, balance, past due, life-to-date sales, year-to-date sales, all the customer history is here, and you can drill back into it and see that data. You can also see their dimensions, you can see their links, and you can see their notes. So some really, really cool stuff that you can see there. And this is acting a little bit slow, so we'll come back to it in a second. But some really nice features that you can use within this particular piece. So great way to use that. You can also use it with payables. So you can create your purchase orders. You can actually enter a payables invoice directly from Outlook, and you can see your vendor data directly from Outlook. So really, really cool stuff that you can do with that. For the sake of time, we'll come back to that in a second. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is word layout reports. So a lot of people are not report writers. I am. I think Steve is as well. But a lot of people have never touched reports in their life. They just don't want to touch them. The cool thing about Business Central is that it allows for you to actually create documents in Word and use those documents in Word to make them your forms. So you'll notice in this case, we're actually taking a sales invoice and we're creating it in Word. Now in BC, you have two different types. You have Word documents and you have SQL documents. We'll be looking at both of those in this session. So to get to these custom report layouts, we're actually going to go to our BC and we're going to go into custom report layouts. And I'll just start typing that and we'll find it here in a second. And we have our custom report layout here. We'll go ahead and open that up. My BC is being very laggy, of course. In my layouts, I have over here on the far right the type of Word or RDLC document that is. So Word is going to be your Word templates. Those are copies of your documents that are saved in Word. And then you're also going to have RDLC documents, which are going to be your SQL documents. So SQL reporting services and the report layout, report designer, you can use that. You can use Visual Studio and you can create some SQL reports and send that back in. But for this case, I'm actually just going to go to layout. And you will notice in here that you can see that you can import and export your layouts. Okay, so you have these different options. And so typically what you're going to want to do if you're modifying a new form, so a form for the first time, is you're going to actually come into the form. You're going to go to new first, and you're going to create essentially a new form type. And so you're going to come in and you're going to say, I want to build a report for whatever I want to build it for. Now you can just copy what you had before, but if you want to create a brand new one, this is how you would do it. You're going to go ahead and insert the word layout and you're going to hit OK. And then once it creates that new form, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to go to layout and you're going to actually export your layout. Because it's Word, it's going to try to open that with Word, which is really nice. And if it's RDLC, it will try to open it with Report Builder. The natural nature of BC, that's what it tries to do. So it'll automatically open up those documents for you. And then in here, you'll notice I have, of course, my security error. But in here, I will see the Word document where I can come in, I can make my changes. I will say it's a little clunky at times. So you just have to kind of play around with it. I would save copies after every change you make, just in case you want to revert back. But you'll do your modifications in here, add your logos, save it. And then when you come back, you're going to go to layout and you're going to actually import the layout. Now, the weird thing is, I don't really like this about BC, but what it will do is it will actually, after you import it, you actually have to choose to apply it, which is interesting. So I've never had to do that before, but you can actually come in, choose that layout, and then when you're done, I'm not going to override my layouts here, but you can go to layout and you can actually update your layout. So you do export, make your changes, import, and then update. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is test. So you're going to test that layout, keep making your changes, but it's in Word. And a lot of people know Word. And so you don't have to be a SQL report writer to do Word. I will say it's making documents in Word is not my favorite, but it is an easy option for people that want to make their own modifications, super, super simple within the Word. The next piece I'm going to show you guys is Sharepoint Link. So This does not work with all Windows. There is a SharePoint adapter. If you go out to AppSource, there's a SharePoint add-in for BC. It does have a price to it where you can sync all of your documents that you're saving in BC with SharePoint automatically and vice versa. So I would recommend that if you want some really nice SharePoint functionality within BC, but there's some easy stuff that you can actually do within BC to use SharePoint with mostly, I would say, your master records. So I'm going to go back to BC and go into my customer card that I left open. And you will notice on the attachment side, you have this little fact bar. And if you don't have yours turned on, it's this little fact box information panel here. But in here, you can put your customer picture. And then if you go over here to attachments, you can actually add things like documents. You can add links and you can add notes. So one thing I like to do with these things is you can actually add a link. And within that link, all you have to do is just go grab an address. This could be anything really. I mean, if I want to do a URL, I could do that. But essentially, I'm going to go out, I'm going to grab my SharePoint address. I'm going to grab my OneDrive address, whatever that would be. And this is going to link it back. And then in here, I can put a description and I could say customer application. And I'm just doing, a simple test in this. And so I add that link. I hit OK, and then that will automatically add the link here. So if you have that saved in SharePoint, if you have that saved in OneDrive, maybe it's just a direct URL, you can add that link and then you can actually drill into that link. And again, I had put that on my search for OneDrive and not my actual OneDrive. But the nice piece is you'll have those links available. So document attachment links is all there. If you want something that's syncing your documents between SharePoint and Business Central, I would definitely recommend the Sharepoint Connector in AppSource because that was a really, really cool tool and it's pretty affordable and not expensive to kind of sync those together. All right, this is one of my favorite topics. I love Teams. I'm a huge advocate of Teams. I use Teams probably 90% of my day. And so within Teams, you actually have the ability to use Business Central now. It's getting there. You can take inventory items, you can take orders, you can take different cards, and you can actually mention them in your chats and have other people view it. But the nice thing is if everybody has a team, within Teams. And the best part about Teams is collaboration. It's my favorite part about Teams. But you can actually come in here and you can say, I want to add a BC page for collaboration within Teams. And it's a really, really easy thing to do. For those of you who don't know, Teams usually gives you a couple little tabs up here. But one thing I like to do is add multiple tabs. I like to add OneNote. Sometimes I add SharePoint, sometimes I add Forms, different things like that. But if I come in here and I add a tab, I can come in and I can actually search for Business Central. So I'll tell you how I did this last time. Website is how I did it. And you're going to go in and you can actually add any website. So if you guys have like an internal landing page for your company, or you have a shared website for banking or whatever you want to do in that case, you can actually do that. But let's say I want to add my list of customers into BC. Okay, here's my customer list. And so I'm going to hide this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab the URL. URLs are so important inside BC. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to actually paste that here. And I'm going to call this customer list as my tab name. And I'm going to hit save. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you're just referencing back to a website. Kinda. I'll tell you where I find this really, really to be fascinating is that a lot of people, especially at month end, someone was talking about month end earlier to me today. Everybody's in month end trying to get things done. As you're starting to collaborate within Teams, one cool thing about Teams is if you're sharing documents, if you're sharing links, if you're sharing OneNotes, as you're working, you're both working together. Okay, so everybody's working in the same pace. So I have a really good sample here of how you can use Teams, especially with accounting departments, where everybody's working on a budget, right? And typically what happens when we're working on a budget, we're getting a copy of the budget, we're coming back, we're making changes, we're going back, we're making changes, and we're doing this in Excel, we got workflow going on. Well, what if we had everything just in Teams? So I've actually created a budget tab, just like I did a customer tab. And I'm going to come in and I'm actually going to update in here my budget. Now, if we're all in it together, it's not going to lock the record because we're sharing it in Teams. And so we can all collaborate on the budget together the cool thing is everything I'm doing in here, I'm live in BC. I'm actually working in BC, working on the budget in Teams together without having to go back and forth and send links and look at this and go in. You're all kind of sharing and collaborating. So if you have maybe a project you're working on in BC, BC does projects, you have a budget, you have some kind of cross collaboration, you can actually do that all right here through this app, which is amazing. I mean, there's so many things you can do with Teams. You also can mention things in the post section. I don't use posts a lot in Teams. Some people do, but you also can make mentions. You can put your URLs in here. And then if anybody has access to that URL or that mention, it will take them out to BC. And you'll notice in here, I referenced the customer list. It's actually taking me back to my customer list tab. Last but not least, I'm not going to show this one, but this is our SQL Reports RDLC. If you have used SQL Reports before or RDLC before, you actually can take your forms and modify them in SQL Report Builder, and you can push them back up into BC. So I'm not going to show that so much because not everybody's a report builder, but that's a really nice feature as well. You can go in and change your SQL reports as well. So really, really nice integrations with the Outlook stack. And that is what I have to share today.
Well, thank you, Shannon. That was fantastic. I learned a lot as well. And if you have any questions, please head to the chat below, and we will be around to answer your questions about Office integrations with Business Central. And thank you very much for attending. Thanks again to the organizers of Dynamics Con and the Dynamics user group. And thank you, Shannon, for joining me.
Steve, thank you. It's always fantastic.
Well, good morning.
How's it going?
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. That was a fantastic presentation on some fantastic integrations on your birthday.
I thought you did excellent as well. Thank you.
So much fun. I think it was a very interactive chat that I've seen going on, but that badge, wow, that's new. I really like that.
I hear it's someone's birthday.
Someone. Well, congratulations on such a great presentation on your birthday. We're so glad that you're here showing up with us on your birthday. And like you said before, you're not at MVP Summit this year. You actually get to enjoy your time with your friends. So we're happy.
Yep.
We're happy that you got chosen for this presentation.
And thanks to everyone who watched our session. Hope you enjoyed it. Saw lots of great conversation, and we were answering questions in the chat. I think the Office 365 integration with Business Central, all of the functionality together is really a compelling set of value for Business Central customers.
Yeah, it's I can't say this enough because there's so many people who have come and integrated Business Central and not even known about that Outlook adapter. And, and Mary was bringing up a really good point in the chat of how much CRM is actually embedded in Business Central, which is actually unbelievable. A lot of people are going out and getting D365, unfortunately, Salesforce, some of these power engines, where they do need a robust CRM, but there is a whole light CRM built in with campaigns, quotes, opportunities. So if you don't have the money to go invest in D365 for sales, use something out of the box, it's got that capability, which is really, really nice.
And I see we have a question from Ilya, I believe. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but can you share more about integrating Business Central with SharePoint for document storage? And I believe we both are familiar with a product. Recently, this is a paid product, but it is very, very nice. It is by the company eFocus, EFOQUS, I believe, and it is called the Sharepoint Connector for Business Central, and it is in the App Store for Business Central, and it is a really, really slick product that seamlessly allows you to integrate Business Central with SharePoint files, and so they just did a webinar. There's a video on YouTube where you can see a demo of the product. So if you're interested in a very, very comprehensive integration with SharePoint to keep your files out of Business Central, but make them very accessible, I would check out that product. I think it's really neat.
Yeah, I agree, Steve. We actually just had a client purchase it because they were having issues, trying to access documents for people that are non-BC users without having to give them team member licenses. So once everything syncs up, it's a great product to use. And of course, Eric, he's a genius with that product.
Yep. Agreed. It's very thoughtful, and they're adding lots of new features to really expand it, not just to store a file, but to have things like DocuSign integration and email integration. Really, really clever product.
Well, Steve, we have a question for you out here in the chat. Maya is asking, is the configuration package easier to use than the Rapidstart, or is it very similar?
Good question. I might defer to you. I have not looked at Rapidstart. I mean, the name Rapidstart has been around forever in the Dynamics world. I was familiar with the Rapidstart project methodology, but I have not used it in the context of Business Central. Have you looked at it?
Yeah, I've looked at it a little bit. It's going to be very similar. I think, the biggest difference is config packages can be used at any time. So we've solved a lot of challenges with integrating, documents. And of course, you can use Power Automate, you can use different features, but we've used it to, if we need to do an integration for an AP upload or we need to do quick changes, the Rapidstart is more for the beginning where config packages can be used throughout your life cycle. But they're very, very similar in how they work in nature. So I don't think there's an answer. Can you use one or the other? It's kind of a both,
And I guess if you're implementing Business Central for a customer from scratch, would you just start with configuration packages, or would you bother to use Rapidstart, do you think?
Yeah, we typically will just start with config packages, but of course we know what we're doing.
Right.
I think, something I did notice, and this is really good to bring up, in the newer version of BC that's coming out in April, they're actually adding a lot of Rapidstart type features of setting up your company, setting up your terms, setting up your users, and they're adding a lot of just like really nice smart wizard type cues. So I think that will be really, really good as new users come onto BC, or you need to start up a new, entity or whatever you're trying to do. I've noticed that they are trying to incorporate a lot of that. So I'm very excited to see that. I have not gotten the new version. What about you, Steve? Have you been able to get your hands on the newest version?
I do have a Docker container with 18, and I see that I can create a sandbox with 18. I have not done it yet. And it seems we have touched on an interesting point with Rapidstart here. Sarov says that configuration packages and Rapidstart are essentially the same things. And then Cynthia offers Rapidstart was the menu grouping name that contained configuration packages. So it's just kind of a convenient way to offer predefined configuration packages. And then Jamie asks, Rapidstart is not available in the latest BC versions, right? And Cynthia says, yes, there is no Rapidstart. Okay.
Yeah, it is configuration packages and just BC.
Okay.
BC SaaS.
Got it.
I know we have a lot of on-prem folks asking about on-prem versus cloud. And of course, I spend a majority of my time in the cloud, and that's where my passion is. But yes, it's going to be very, very similar. And there are some really, really great wizards, happening within BC, and I think they're going to continue to happen to make it really, really easy for end users to be able to get their data and stream that data. So I'm very, very excited for that.
And I see Gavin Whitaker has joined us. The great thing is you can type Rapidstart in the Tell Me window, and it shows configuration packages. So it looks like they've taken care of that linking. So if you do search for config pack or Rapidstart, it'll take you to the right place. So that's great.
Yeah, we had another question, Steve, come in about teams and using teams inside of or using budgets, inside of Teams. And so, it said, does every person who's working on the budget in Teams need a special license? You do have to be a BC user. So if you're sharing your Teams across the board, now team member licenses inside Business Central Cloud essentially mean you're a view-only user. So you would not be able to edit those documents. So if you're sharing a budget in Teams, or you're sharing a sales document, or whatever you're working on, you guys would both have to have read-write access. So you'd have to be a full user. So that's a great point. Like if you had view-only users, they'd be able to view the budget, but they wouldn't be able to write into it. But that's a really great way to kind of share and collaborate. We do a lot of collaboration, internally in Teams where we're sharing documents and we're on the same version of the truth. That's where I like to do that, inside of Teams.
And a great point that was mentioned in the chat that I'll just recap for the video, Jeremy Viska offered that it is technically possible to extend the Outlook integration with Business Central. So if users want to see an additional piece of information or perform an additional function, a developer can enhance a BC endpoint, I'm assuming, expose more information from BC, and then also extend the Outlook plugin so that users can have more functionality directly in Outlook. And I have had very limited experience with Outlook plugins, and it was not pretty. So I think I'm going to stay away from that. But it's great that Jeremy offers that option if you want to make Outlook more powerful. I think it's already pretty crazy how powerful it is to extend that further for customer service folks, sales folks who spend their lives in Outlook. I think it'd be an amazing option.
Yeah, we work with some ISVs like Binary Stream and others that are using the Outlook add-in and adding things like entities and different things to that. And then also Ryan and his iSolutions collections, like they have Collector on there now and some of their Collector windows inside Outlook. So I know it's possible. I just don't know how you do it. That's not me.
And that's a great point. It's a huge opportunity for ISVs, right? So not only just core BC, but ISVs who are offering their extension and functionality in BC, they can expose their functionality in Outlook as well. That's a great point.
Yeah, and Steve, I just wanted to mention, there's so much things you can do, not only with Outlook, but with Power Automate. I was talking yesterday on my session with Kristen, we use customer voice to create a new customer survey, have that data flow through Power Automate, and then automatically hit into BC. So that every time a new customer is created, it's automatically creating a customer inside of BC through voice of the customer or customer voice. And then you can trigger workflow to happen automatically, right? So when a new customer is created, automatically trigger a workflow that happens. No one's typing in customer information or vendor information. You're using the whole Power Platform. So, I mean, when we're looking at the capabilities outside of just the ERP alone, there's really no comparison. It's so exciting.
Yes, and we both come from a different different ERP solution where we did not have these capabilities. I mean, technically, maybe you could develop them, but it would have been a ton of work. And to get this type of functionality out of the box is, it's hard for me to comprehend oftentimes. Yeah.
Mind blown. Mind blown.
Yep, absolutely.
As Belinda said, we're citizen developers. I literally created that customer integration from customer voice all the way to BC within 5 minutes and had it working for a demo. Wow. I mean, I would have been calling you, Steve, and paying you a lot of money to do that before.
Well, and now I need to find a new job. What am I going to do, right?
You can be a Dynamics talk host.
There you go. I got my set ready here. So.
And Beat says he really needs to start diving into BC. So if you're coming from Dynamics GP or Dynamics Nav and you haven't been into BC Cloud, I don't know about you, Steve, but it's my passion now. I fell in love with it. I was very anti-BC at the beginning, and that was a few years ago. And the more I use it, the more I love it. So I highly recommend getting into it if you haven't already.
Yes, and speaking of getting into Business Central, if you are new to Business Central and just learning about this for the first time, Jeremy Viska had a fantastic presentation, the BC Information Archipelago, where he has a great presentation on how to try and find resources, how to start to get up to speed and learn. How do you learn all of this stuff? There's just a torrent of information on Business Central. So check out his session when it is published on YouTube shortly.
Yeah, that's a great point, Steve. And he had a lot of really great resources yesterday, including your I Need More Coffee chats that you're doing, which is one of my favorite sessions.
And it's a straight roll for me. I'm just learning. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out from scratch. I mean, I have ERP background, but the words, the terminology, the concepts are actually often quite different in Business Central. So it is disorienting. And there's just all these, a new release, right? We just had a new release coming out. They have preview releases. How do you keep up with all of this? So it does require some work, but there are plenty of resources if you're interested.
Absolutely. And, Steve, I do have a really important question for you. It's not here in the chat, but what are you going to do to celebrate your birthday?
Good question. I'm going to be doing the conference the rest of the day, and then I'm going to be helping Mary Thompson moderate her session. And then coming up at, 6 p.m. Eastern, we have the Business Central Networking Hour, and Tanya Henderson and I will be hosting that. So I will see the attendees in that session later this afternoon.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know Kristen and Jen are actually doing the Women in Tech event as well today. So that's exciting. Right. And very excited for my good friend Mary Thompson to be presenting. Everyone check out. She's doing a lot on Power Automate and Postman and APIs and all kinds of fun stuff. I'm very excited for that session. So
excellent. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, maybe I'll take the kids out and I don't know, we'll go to the park, which is one of my themes if you follow me on Twitter. So
yeah, if you don't follow Steve on Twitter, you definitely should. He's a wealth of knowledge, wealth of resources for getting into BC and just learning more about this platform. So it's very, very, very good.
Excellent. Well, I see we have a few comments coming in. If anyone else has any final questions before we wrap up, we have a few minutes. And thanks again to everyone who came. I hope you found it useful. Obviously, we had a limited amount of time to try and cram all that information into 40 minutes. So it was a bit of a speed presentation, but it hopefully just showed you what is possible. It wasn't obviously a clear. Can search the Microsoft Docs for Business Central to learn more about the functionality. That's how I configured all of that and learned all of it. It had step-by-step guides. How do you enable the Outlook add-in? So I went into my Office 365 tenant, followed the instructions, and I did not know how to do it prior to preparing for the presentation. So it is not that difficult.
Hey, Steve, we had a very important question come in the chat.
Okay.
How old are you? How old are you?
Well, I don't think I can get away with 29 anymore, but how about I'm 39?
I think you pull off 39.
Yeah, we'll do that with a wink.
Let's call it 39. Well, we have a couple more minutes. I wanted to talk about how I got into BC because I know that's coming up a lot. There's a whole feed coming into it. I just got hands in. I took as many classes as I could. I attended as many conferences and webinars and sessions that I could, and started learning from people like Carrie and Kim and Waldo and different people that are, in this chat. But also I just got my hands into a sandbox. Microsoft has sandboxes if you're a partner, or you can go out and spin up a free 30-day environment, get your hands into it. That was the easiest way for me to learn because I'm very hands-on. I know you are too. I know you are more analytical than me. You will break it down until you fully understand it. For me, it's just a test. Can I do it?
I think that is a great point. If you want to get into Business Central, and I've talked about this in several of my live streams, there is zero cost. There are zero barriers to entry. And I mean literally zero. You do not even need to provide an email address to Microsoft. And without any registration, you can download a Docker container and set that up locally if you want, or you can set up an online SaaS sandbox of fully functional Business Central to play with and learn without any partner requirements, customer requirements, without paying for it. So if you are interested in Business Central, there are literally no barriers to getting started. And I am not familiar with any other ERP system that can say that. I know in GP, it's not that easy. In NetSuite, it's not that easy. And so with Business Central, hey, it's yours. You can start at any time. There are literally, I'm going to guess there are almost 1,000 videos on YouTube for free showing you how to get started and learn Business Central. Inecta, Use Dynamics, there's my streams, there's Eric's videos, endless number of resources. So if you're interested in BC, do not worry about having to pay or register or anything like that. Get started.
Get it and get your hands dirty. Enjoy it. Have fun. I'm so passionate about it now. And anyone wants to talk about NetSuite versus BC or GP versus BC or anything versus BC, I'm your girl. And I love it. I'm so passionate about it. My next passion is Teams. So.
And we got a question in the chat. Is developing on Docker easier than SaaS Sandbox? And I There's a Docker learning curve. So you need to understand Docker and how to get all that set up. Once you have that set up, I think it is easier because you can do a little more with Docker as a developer. You have a few less restrictions, but you will want to understand how to publish to a SaaS sandbox. I personally have only done the Docker development, so that's where I've started. And I believe there are some limitations of the SaaS sandbox, but just dealing with Docker is a little bit of a learning curve based on my experience. So I have an entire series learning BC development from scratch on YouTube. So
Steve,
you can check out my videos
we
there.
We are being exited.
Okay. Thanks everyone for attending and have a great day. Enjoy the conference.